Hi everyone, it's Cindy. Welcome back to Studioloo. I'm here for kind of a casual video today, just kind of, I guess I'll call this the gathering of Halloween. So it has been cool lately. So we've had some nice cool days here and lots of rain, and I'm kind of just getting the Halloween-y kind of vibes that I always get when it gets to like late August and you know that summer's trying to wrap itself up. So I thought I would just gather all the Halloween kind of stuff that I have so I could kind of sort it out and get started on what I'm going to do. So I'll show you what I'm working with. So some scrappy things. This was from a Skull Candy pair of headphones, so I'm going to make something ephemera-ish out of that. This I thought was a really cool book page. It's like you know, there's all these kind of, it's like spooky potions and things going on, and like this princess kind of is like running away. I think it's from Mirror, Mirror on the Wall, who's the fairest of them all? Is it Snow White? Yeah, I think it's from a Snow White. Then I have this fun, like, nature kind of book with this bat and bugs and things. And then I've got some papers that I've kind of set aside that I'm going to go through. So I'll move those. We've got a little bit of Spellbound Forest left in that Recollections paper and some alcohol ink paper. Like, I've just got good colors. This is some nice tissue that's got these orangey brassy kind of circles on it. So yeah, we're getting into the Halloweenies. So just more scrapbook paper in various colors. Then I have a couple of these cool, so these are, remember the old Topps card pack wax wrappers? So this is from Return to Oz, the film. And they just really have a Halloween vibe. This is the Scarecrow in TikTok. If you've never seen Return to Oz, definitely check it out. It's a really cool movie starring Fairuza Balk as a child. It's very, very imaginative. Like, you know, if you've seen the Judy Garland Wizard of Oz, you know, it's quite classic, all those kind of things. But this movie has a completely different vibe to it, like entirely different. And then I think I have two of these Halloween craft pads that have like various Halloween kind of stuff. This is a mysterious package of Halloween stuff. We can look at that after. I've had it hanging around for a year, I guess. It was from last year. Then, oh, this is a little die. But yeah, I got this when I was thrifting and I never opened it. I've got to go through my dies. It's got like little pumpkins and stuff like that. I have to go through my Halloween dies. Then I did some printing. These will be pages for the journals. So like, it's just, they're digitals. Lots of Release the Craft in and some others randomly printed back to back. I've got to trim those down. And then I got these chippies. So my local scrapbook store, Unique in Guelph, Ontario, they have these really fun, these are Minte chippies. So they're a 12 by 12 sheet of chipboard elements, and you can paint them. You know, this one's fun. It's got spider webs, pumpkins, cats, cauldrons, candles, gravestones, witch hat, all sorts of Halloween stuff. This one is just all ghosts and I just love it. So yeah, I've got those. This is left over. So this is the Vampire Cinema. So I sort of see myself this Halloween season making a bit of like more adult spooky Halloween-y kind of books, but also some more fun kids, like, you know, not necessarily kids books, but like illustrations that originate from children's books, because Halloween, even if you're not a big fan of children's kind of themes, Halloween is like the one time where it's just done in such a brilliant way. You find a lot of, I mean, it's not the one time, but it's one of the times where children's illustrations, I think, can appeal to everybody. So I've got cat's knees and bees whiskers. So I'm going to be kind of going through these. Now, I don't know if I'm going to do storybook journals necessarily, because these all have different formats. And I don't know, like this one particularly would be really big, I think. So sorry, I had to take a little break because my son's off to school and he wanted to say bye to me. So anyways, so yeah, I don't know if I'll do like storybook journals from all these or not, or some of them, I'm not sure. I just really love the images though for any kind of a Halloween journal. I'm thinking about possibly doing like read-throughs of these books, but I might do it on Patreon, like as a little October-y kind of thing. I've just completed a bit of research about like the channels that do children's book read-throughs online, like what you're allowed to do and not allowed to do in terms of copyright. So I'm just kind of like checking all my last checks on that before I do that. But I don't think I'm going to offer to do that kind of thing on YouTube because it's not my content. You know what I mean? I don't do that on my channel typically, and I think it would be confusing to have that here. But maybe for like special occasions and on Patreon. And then we have Meg and Mog, and it's a really fun, cute book as well. More like linear, kind of amateurly looking, drawn kind of things. I think it's so charming. Scary, Scary Halloween, Eve Bunting with pictures by Jan Brett. And they're obviously just amazing illustrations. My mama says there aren't any zombies, ghosts, vampires, creatures, demons, monsters, fiends, goblins, or things. Judith Vjorst is the illustrator for this book, and it's like little black and whites. And then this book, A Beginner's Guide to Immortality from Alchemy of Avatars. I don't know anything about this book, except I just got it from a book sale, but it's got like lots of good content in it for different sorts of journals, and I think there is some good stuff in here for Halloween. It's not all Halloween related, but like this is really good. That might be all. Well, there's, you know, this little bit too. So just little bits and bobs. Then this Monster or Man, Terrifying Tales, Frightening Facts, Games and Projects. This is like a partial kind of book, I think, or it's a bunch of like magazine, little kids kind of vintage magazine type books all stitched together. I'm not sure. It's got some mythology in it as well, but like, look at that. You know, so some definitely good stuff there. And this one is Scary Poems for Rotten Kids, which I love. It's so fun. Monster Town, another good little Halloween-y book. This is Monsterology Handbook, so we've got all sorts of fun monsters in there, again with some mythology. How to Get Rid of Bad Dreams, Nancy Hasbury and Roy Condry. Harry and the Terrible What's-It by Dick Gackenbach. I remember this book from when I was a kid. I'm just loving his last name of Gackenbach. What do the fairies do with all those teeth? This one is more of a tooth fairy kind of book, but they look like little witches, right? So I think it would be very fitting for Halloween. Miss Nelson is Missing, which is just a wonderful book. Not necessarily Halloween, but it's got a bit of a spookiness to it. And I just like the story. Like there's Miss Nelson, right? When she's dressed up as her ulterior teacher. And so I don't know if we'll use all these or not, but Cat Magic, written and illustrated by Loris Lazinski, and it's of course witchy and fun. The Black Book of Colors. This one I just pulled out because it's a black braille book. So like, I don't know if you hopefully can see the shiny image there of like grass, and then over here you'll see there's braille, so it has illustrations like that. Like this one has feathers and strawberries and then braille over there, and I pulled this out kind of as like black fodder for, you know, Halloween. Oh, there's another copy of Miss Nelson is Back. So I mean, theoretically with this I could do a storybook journal, and I think that would be a pretty cool one, but it may not happen right now, I don't know. Winnie the Witch, Corky Paul and Valerie Thomas. I love the illustrations in this one. There's so many great witch illustrators. Like, oh, it's so good. Okay, so that's kind of like all the fodder. Now, the first book I think I'm going to turn into a Halloween book is going to be this one, The People's Choir, which is an old music book. So I thought I might go ahead and break it down and kind of get some paper like started for it. so I'll just set aside some of the bits and bobs that I've pulled out to work on. Oh yeah, we can look what's in this folder. So I know I grabbed a bunch of stuff from like random things last year and said, put this aside for Halloween. So I have this. This is a bat, like, what's the word? You hang it up like a bunting, a bat bunting. And these are paper. They're glittery on the front. They're a lot of fun. Oh yeah, this is a scan of a big photograph that I got out of a book that I got at an auction, and I just love it. These are from Priscilla from Release the Craftin'. I can tell their words. So yeah, we have that left over. This is was a digital from someone from last year. I'm not exactly sure who, but you know, I think it probably is AI generated. Now that I'm looking at it, as is this. I think these are, oh no, these are, yeah, no, these are probably AI generated. Yeah, because I you know, had a bit of a different feeling about this last year. I wasn't so like, AI, but I am annoyed with it now somewhat. So I don't use a whole lot of it. I do use some of it in my work. I think there are, you know, some uses of AI that don't bother me, but they're getting less and less these days, I gotta say, with the proliferation of it. This is some fun bags. I can't remember where I got them, but this one has bats, cats, bats and moons, jack-o'-lanterns and skulls, and more different pumpkins. Those are fun. And then this is a vintage spider. So you know those Halloween decorations where they've got the these waffly bits, right? So I got that at a thrift store last year and decided I'll probably just use it in a book, because like I'll use it somehow in a book, because it's vintage. It's probably seen some better days, but I think I have a good way to probably use it. So yeah, all sorts of fun things. So we'll fussy cut that kind of stuff. I'm also working in the background. I've been working away on a whole bunch of stuff. Like, I'll show you where we're going with this. Let me just organize real quick here. So I think this image that I pulled from a book is going to be what's on the cover of here, but we're going to do a little bit more with it. It's not just going to be this kind of plain thing. All right, so let me show you my to be completed stuff here. Okay, so I've got this all kind of cut out. These are all my Halloween kind of stuff that I've been working on. All the little bits, kind of the medium-sized bits, and then the slightly larger bits and bobs, and then the really big stuff. I've printed out a couple kits that you've seen me use in the past from Release the Craftin', because definitely like one of the best Halloween digital creator, you know, folks is Release the Craftin'. Very OG, witchy, you know, Halloween, all those good things. So we'll definitely be using their stuff. And I've got some, I don't even know who some of these digitals are from. These are Miles Beyond the Moon, the Eerie Dearies collection. Yeah, I've never used this one kit from Release the Craftin'. At the time they had made a couple kits at once, and I chose to use the Witches Halloween, which is more this theme, than Bump in the Night, which is the other kit. But they're both so fun. So finally I'll be able to use some of that this year. I'm really excited about it. I think that April at Pink Odd Bird did a journal with it last year, and it was really fun. It reminded me, I used to watch this show, like, because she called it Bump in the Night, and I remember there was or actually that wasn't April's name for it. That's actually the Release the Craftin' kit name, is Bump in the Night. And I remember watching a show that was called that had this little green guy on it called Mr. Bumpy, and it just cracked me up. It was such a good like wake up of nostalgia. And then I've been making these. So I painted these pumpkins, and then I've been drawing on them and kind of doing fun things. I painted and then digitally kind of edited them to rough them up with some brushes in Procreate. And then for some of them, I just I printed this out to see how they would print and how they were looking. So then what I did was I drew on a few of them to make them whimsical and fun. And then I just I kept the same pumpkins, and I kept changing the elements of the eyes and things. So then I printed some out and I painted on them, and I just did a release for that on Patreon. So there's like a page of them that I've done for my Patreons. For the Friday freebie. So if you're not aware, on my Patreon, I do what's called Friday freebie or Friday fodder. So on a rotating schedule of Fridays, like the first Friday, you'll get like some kind of a small digital collection or like a page or two of something fun and random. And then the next Friday, you'll get a video of some kind, usually showing you how to make some kind of journal fodder. So that's like my focus right now. And I just go back and forth. And sometimes I do like slightly different things, but yeah, it's a lot of fun. I should show it to you. It's still sitting in my scanner from when I scanned it, but I'll do that a little later. Then I also have these, the It Capilli Imaginariums paper dolls, which I love. I need to fussy cut these and make the dolls. And then I've got some really great like vintage magazines or books, these vintage craft books that I've been going through. So I was really quiet last week, and I'll explain some of that. This is going to be a bit of a chatty video probably, because I'm doing a ton of things. Like summer, I think I said this probably every summer I've been on YouTube. I make a few less videos usually in the summer because like I'm out a lot with the kids and I'm doing things. It's kind of like our, the active season of the human being in Canada, not wanting to be out in the snow too much. So this year has been a lot of that, as well as just like having little kids has formidably changed how my life works. And so I'm having to like take them all these places. And so it makes it a little harder in the summer. So anyways, I have been going through lots of things, books included, and I found these fun book pages from these craft books that I've been pulling apart that are vintage, like 70s craft books. So you'll be seeing me working with some of that kind of stuff, vintage craft book pages that are really fun, because we are clearing out these books that I don't need. And I also have a box of what I refer to kind of as like ready to go ephemera. So this is stuff that I've made, and I've like gotten it kind of finished and folded, like this fun, Halloween tag envelopes and just different things that are like done, I've got to find this book, The Beastly Boys and Ghastly Girls. I want to try to make that journal during this season if I can. It's a children's kind of dark, sarcastic poetry book from the 70s, I think. So yeah, lots of that. And I also have lots of these creepy doll kind of things, and I was thinking of taking a copy of Charles Dickens's Bleak House and making like a creepy doll abandoned house type book. So those are what are kind of brewing in my brain. But yeah, these are the things that I've got kind of ready to go. And that concludes the here's what's done part of this video. So I have been totally revamping a bunch of things in my studio. So for those of you who've been around a little while, you know that I dye paper and I sell it in my Etsy shop. So I'm moving my operation into the studio. It's been in my dining room for a while now. Like not the dyeing part, but like we have a whole system that I can't really talk about because it's sort of a thing that I'm doing that's like my own kind of intellectual property. And it's like we've built a machine. We're doing all these things because I'm a little extra sometimes. So I have been working on that, and I'm moving it downstairs. I got a new one of those desks that like raises up and down for like a stand-up desk. And I got a little treadmill to go under it that I can roll away. So during the day when I am working at my job, I can walk or, you know, speed walk a little. I think that will be good for stress management and general exercise. So I'm getting that all sorted, and that involved moving my old desk, which is larger, to the other side of the studio, and that's going to be where I have the paper making kind of set up, or part of it anyways, because it's next to like I have an industrial double, like big double studio sink here in my studio because, you know, I used to dye a lot of yarn. I used to have a really big yarn business. And now I've kind of shifted right into journal making, and I still spin yarn, but I'm not dyeing like mill spun yarns anymore. I don't want to do that anymore. It's kind of, I've grown out of it. It's also, I think, the market is so flooded with it that I'm happy to leave it behind. So this is going to need a new spine. That's a tiny baby spine. So maybe we'll start with let's just separate the book. Now this book I think will be good. It'll be soft enough that I will actually be able to stitch on the new spine that I make for it. So we're just going to cut out the old spine, and we don't need to be like as careful as I normally would be with, you know, trying to maintain a book to use the spine. But we have this fun spine. This could be good fodder, journal fodder. Let's take that part off. So yeah, it's been busy, and then my in-laws will be visiting here soon, so I've been storing my camp beds in the room that they sleep in since we went camping, because I want to vacuum them before I put them away. So I have to do that and then put them away. I'm also clearing out closets. So like as the kids are about to start another year of school, I typically go through all their clothes and decide what can go, what's too small, you know, and then pull out stuff for the following year and kind of make them a good seasonal closet. So it's getting to be that time. Look how grungy that old book is. My goodness, this is an old music book. 1918, The People's Choir. It's a religious book, but I do like the music inside of it. It's a very thin paper. So that'll be good to use for collage and things. I'm trying to decide where to keep it, because I think it would be useful to have it be close by for actually collaging. So now I need to size this to the size of the book. So I think I'll get my cutter. Okay. I want to keep both owls. We need them. Then we'll come over to this side, and probably I don't need like a ton of her robe, but some of it. I'm not going to trim off the top at all. Let's take a look on the book cover, like how big I should make this. I want to leave room for a journal plate, which, I mean, I could put it on top of here if I wanted to cover the whole book. Or I could make this a little shorter, and yeah, I think I'll make it a little shorter, and then we can put the plate right on the book. So we don't need all of that. Go 7 inches, that should be good. Keep this bit of scrap because it's got a nice color to it. Okay. Yeah, that's fun. And then I'll make this like more interesting as a journal topper. But first, I need to back it onto something thicker. I've got some cardstock here that might be perfect. Now, when folded, will it fit on it folded? I think it might be too, Yeah, blue too. All right, let's just go single. So this is an old ball band. I used to print out my ball bands for my yarns, and back in the day when I was selling lots of yarn. Let's put a little bit of glue stick on here, and I got to get a new glue stick. Oops. This doesn't need to be super well done because I'm going to be stitching and adding other things. Coffee, good. Yeah, but I had kind of a quiet weekend. We went out a little bit, but we've mostly just been doing home projects that need to get done. Trying to figure out what we're going to do for Halloween costumes for the kids. I think my daughter, I think, has pretty much chosen what she wants to do, and I think my husband and I have too. So we're trying to put that all together and start collecting all the pieces for that, because I do not want to leave it too long, as I often do, because I get a little forgetful about my timelines around Halloween. So there's that. Now let me look in my label, my book plates here. See if we can find a good one. That would fit, but it's a little tall for this. I do like the ornateness of it, and I've got one like this that's a little smaller. I like that one. Actually quite like that one as well. I think I like that one more. I don't know. Oh, it's tough. This is an antique one. I like that one. You know why? Okay, so the color. So this is an authentic, like, antique cabinet label. I have a source for these. This little old man who, he has the most magical antique store, and he's quite far from here, but I do manage to check in with him from time to time when I go far out of my way. And when I go, I just kind of stock up on things. So he has this downstairs basement that's like, it literally feels like, when you look at it, like Alice, you know, going down the rabbit hole. But instead of, like, you know, things like teapots and, you know, picture frames, it's just literally hardware, vintage, antique, not vintage, antique hardware, like ornate, you know, these book plates and handles and all sorts of things, lots of cabinetry, hardware and things. So I went there one day because I have a 90 drawer library cabinet that has these nice, lovely, long, big drawers. So if you wonder where I keep all my stuff, lots of it's in there. And I said, like, I need some of these because it has, like, built-in wooden lips that you can pull out. But, like, I wanted, for the look of it, I wanted to get some nice labels for it. But I was sort of struggling because this is before the days of being able to buy things sort of inexpensively from places like AliExpress on, you know, like bulk type stuff, right? It was before those days. So I said, you know, I need to get 90 of these that are the same. And then I was like bargaining with myself, well, actually they don't have to be the same. You know, it has 10 drawers across by 9 drawers deep. So I thought I could do, like, you know, 10 across, maybe for 2 levels, I'll do like one type and then the rest maybe a less fancy type or something. So then I went there and I ended up buying like so many of them, so many different ones. And I sort of think I have enough for my project. I still haven't completed it yet because it's a slightly tedious project because, you know, these are tiny little holes. So you've got to drill a little hole and it can't be too deep because you don't want to go all the way through the drawer, right? And then you've got to take these teensy bitty little screws and put them in, and they're just, I mean, I have about 20,000 of them or something in this little thing. I'll show them how tiny and tedious they are. You see this tiny little screw? So this has to go. You gotta do 3 of those and screw them in, and it's the most painful experience, but I'm getting them done slowly. I've probably still got about 70 to go. But I hate doing the screwing in. And I can't find like a drill bit or a screw bit for my Dremel that will work. Like there's one that should work. It's the flat. I have the X and the flat. I know there's names for them like Allen or whatever. Not Allen, but I don't know. I'm not a hardware person. But they don't work. Like I've tried, and it just, the speed of the Dremel or drill even, plus the tininess of the screw and the fact that it doesn't have much depth to fit like the screwdriver into, it just makes the whole thing, like, it just keeps jumping out, and then it becomes even more annoying because you're like holding on to this jumping tool trying not to like skid it across your hand. Yeah. So these are why things take a while. But anyways, why do I want this for this book? Because it has this orangey kind of color of patina on it. And it's got this little sharper edge here. Like not sharp, but like triangular. And to me, I don't know, it just makes it feel more Halloween gothic kind of feeling. So I think this will be the one. But I'm going to probably stain up this book a little bit with some black soot type spray. I want a little more color on it. I've got to go out today, I think. I'm going to try not to. I've got to look a little more thoroughly through my books, but shockingly, I have like no black books. I have scads of books, and I was like so annoyed because I'm like, where are they all? But I also want to do some fabric cover Halloween books because like my fabric is, oh my God. I have too much fabric. It's stressing me out. It's stressing me out because I'm cleaning and I'm organizing and so many things are working, and that's the one thing that isn't working. So I'm like, no, but I have an idea, and I don't know how you organize. Does anyone have just a metric ton of fabric that they don't want to get rid of, but they're using it slowly and they need to organize it? Because I'd love your tips. What I'm thinking about doing is just like pulling it all out, folding it neatly, and putting it in a bunch of different boxes organized by color. Then setting up my cabinetry the way that I want it to be, and then maybe putting it in baskets by color, because then at least you know, like if you're going to sew something, you usually have a color concept in mind. I could also do some theme boxes like Christmas, Halloween. That might be kind of the tertiary next level of like, you know, putting it together. But ultimately I just need to like downsize a few things, which I'm doing. I'm sort of wrapping, like I don't have as much fiber in the studio as I used to, because I used to just have a ton of fiber because I was spinning all the time. But now I'm not spinning all the time, so I don't need to have like loads and loads of fiber. So I'll have less of that, and that'll be good. And then I'll be able to organize my fabric, I think. But also I'm trying to just get using it too. So I'm going to unthread these from this big black ribbon, because this black ribbon, I'm looking at it like, you know, this would be really great for journal ties. It's a really nice silky ribbon, so it's good and strong. And I think I'll probably also go out today a little bit and look for more Halloween-y kind of stuff, because I have to go get an element for my costume anyways. So yeah, there's that. But I wanted to talk about another topic today too. And that topic is planned obsolescence and my frustrations with companies, corporations who make things that they know they don't make parts for. They just make a thing and they don't make a part. So like I've had that happen 2 times this week where something, well, not this week, but in the last, I'd say 2 months, where something very expensive, an appliance has broken and I can't buy a part for it, even though I know how to fix it. Like, you know, I I didn't grow up a silly heart entirely. I've learned a lot about repairing things, and I'm quite good at it, as is my husband. And we're very annoyed because you can't buy parts for anything. So like, not a new concept, but just one that's really frustrating to me. So much so that I think that legislators should be putting some kind of regulation on corporations where they must manufacture for a minimum of, like, I'd say 5 years, but probably 3 would be acceptable, but at least 5 years. You must manufacture all of the parts that can be replaced in your equipment. And when you make design changes to a model of something that you're manufacturing, you need to have a reason. Like, not just because you want to change it up, because I don't know, I feel so annoyed by, especially big things like refrigerators, washing machines, dryers. You spend like over $1,000 typically on them, some considerably more, and then something breaks, be it mechanical, computer, basic plastic, whatever, and you cannot get anything for it. So, that's perhaps one good thing about like 3D printing will give us those plastics, eventually farther out metals and things like that. But I am so frustrated. Like, I'm going to be writing a bit of a form letter today to one of the companies. Not that I think they will care at all, but I have a bit of a personal perspective on it because it's more than just the spending of money, right? So if you think about it, right, a lot of the world right now is in an economical crisis. And, do we know why? Not really, no. I know that everyone likes to blame the pandemic when I don't really think that's the reason. I think that while some companies, not all, and definitely not grocery stores, suffered during the pandemic, it's like... not the companies that are charging us more money for the things that we buy on a daily basis. So like things like, food. I don't think that farms nor animal manufacturing, farms and that kind of thing, were as impacted as, say, like restaurants, which could not be open. So while I'm understanding to the restaurant, I'm not understanding to the large, company that supplies the restaurant with food, or my grocery store for that matter, when I know that something is locally farmed and there's no impact at all anymore, and there hasn't been for some time. And so like companies like I'm going to say allegedly to be kosher here with my legal feelings, but Whirlpool, KitchenAid are one company. So like I have had to replace, a couple of ovens and a refrigerator in my short ownership of them, under 5 years, I would say. And that really annoys me. And I will never buy from those brands again. Because it's gross, and the same is true with GE. I will no longer buy from them either. I've started to go down a path now with appliances of going to restaurant quality if I can. So I'm just going to save my money. I'm going to use my old appliance that I have. I have a Fisher Paykel refrigerator that currently works wonderfully. It's an older model, but it's wonderful, as all older model, including like those Whirlpools, back when people cared how things were made and they weren't all made overseas. And not to say that just because they're made overseas that the people are different or anything. They're not. It doesn't matter where you live. You could make quality. It's about the funding, right? The budgets that are put into manufacturing. And it seems like every company these days have turned into like Elon Musk, where they just want to spend as little as possible, but they want to make as much as possible. Companies are no longer satisfied making millions. They need to make billions. It's dumbfounding to me, and it's the same as, the labor shortages that we have everywhere that are making things just untenable. Like I was going through, so I was going through the supermarket the other day and I was thinking about how much I absolutely hate self-checkout at the supermarket because it's utterly exhausting. So I have, I hate grocery shopping now. Used to love it, but I can't stand it now. Ever since like the pandemic started, I find grocery shopping to just be the most annoying thing in the world. You know, first it was just the danger of going, you know, when the pandemic was happening, and now it's what you pay for everything. All of it is just frustrating. So I was going through and, you know, I don't have too bad of a time doing self-checkout. I like it actually in small store settings, but I hate it in big shop, you know, settings. And when I grocery shop, I typically have like a very full cart. I have a lot to buy because I buy bulk, because I hate shopping and I don't want to come back ever again. And I hope I've bought enough that I'll never have to return. But I keep running out of things because, you know, people got to eat in this house. I don't know why. So I was just so exhausted the other day when I got to the store. I'd been so busy, and then I shopped, and that was tiring. It was like, you know, just busy, and you're like loading all this stuff. And then, you know, checking out is just another annoying thing because, like, in Canada, we've gotten away from the plastic bag, hallelujah, but instead of replacing them with, you know, quality paper bags, we have two options. Paper bags that will explode if a raindrop hits them, or if you tickle them in the wrong corner of the bag, they'll just explode and, you know, be all over the ground. Or these horrific reusable bags that are so gross. Like they're some kind of a poly blend. They're a plastic. Like, I don't understand how they're a replacement for plastic bags, but sure. It's the whole idea that they're quote unquote reusable, except that, like, they're so gross most of the time. Like, I try not to get the fabricy feeling ones because from the first time you use them, they smell. I think they carry a lot of bacteria. I think they're like nasty, and I wouldn't put them in my washing machine because I don't think they're machine washable. So there's that. And then I only get like the ones that are kind of like laminated, you know, layered recycled plastic. I think they're made from old plastic bags, funny enough. And I use those, and I decided to invest in, like, some grocery stores in Canada they're like little crates, right? They're like fabric crates, collapsible, and they have like a flip down bottom. So they're like a basket, and they're amazing. So, like, my tip to you is, if you hate grocery shopping like I do, then what you do is get a nice big grocery cart if your store has large ones, and just set up all of your boxes, those baskets that I just talked about, and then organize them by food groups. So I did that the other day. I was like, and I did that actually during the pandemic, because at that time, I think, okay, so yeah, before the pandemic, my husband and I decided we were going to go completely plastic free when we shopped. So that means not even putting our produce in those little clear bags that they provide. We would bring instead those fabric crates, and everything we got, we would not put it in extra packaging, right? Some stuff like meat, you can't help it. It's already in packaging. Like, you can't carry, you know, a raw piece of chicken around in your hands, but for produce, it's fine. So we're like, we wash it all anyways. We might as well just not put it in plastic. So I do this thing where in, you know, our stores, we have these 2-level shopping carts. They're like 2 layers. And there's the front where a kid can sit, or where I put my eggs and maybe bread sometimes if I'm not buying much bread. But then the top layer, I'll put 2 baskets, and the bottom one I'll put 3 or 4 depending on the size, because I have 2 sizes. Some are cubes and some are like longer. So then, you know, you use one for produce, fruit and vegetables. Then you use another one for things that can get squished, like pastries, like, you know, bakery items and breads, English muffins, etc. And then you use one for like your meat, and then one for your dairy, your milk, your cheese, your yogurt, you know. And then you can put things like ice cream or other frozen goods in that one if you want to, because usually they coexist quite well together. Butter, you know, won't get crushed by a thing of frozen pierogies or something, right? So that's how I organize things when I think about it. And I did that the other day while shopping, and it made such a difference. I was like, oh, thank goodness I was actually thinking. My brain was fully fueled today because I needed this. So the cool thing is, I went through self-checkout and it was so easy. I just put one bin on, you know, the to be processed side of the self-checkout, and then I scanned all the things and put them just on the checkout, like the side where you bag, and then I moved my bin over to that side and I put them all right back in and right back in my cart. It was so easy. And the only challenge was every now and then I would get an error that said, like, there's something additional on the, you know, on the bagging side, like, are you using your own bag? So I'd have to say yes, and the whole thing went without, you know, a hitch. But like, the thing that I don't like about self-checkout, I mean, there's a lot of things society wise that I don't like about it. First of all is that a lot of people don't understand it, and that makes it less accessible. There's a lot of folks, you know, I don't want to just say older folks, but folks in general, there may be a reason why using self-checkout is not right for you. You could have a developmental issue, you could have a vision issue, you could have, you know, a comprehension issue, whatever it is. You should have the same ability to shop as, you know, everyone else, without it becoming like a embarrassing thing that you have to ask for help or something. Like, that's what inclusion and you know, providing rights to people is all about. It's like the same feeling I have about stores not providing public washrooms. Like, that's just the dumbest thing, the worst thing. You know, I understand that there's a little cost involved in paper, and obviously cleaning a public bathroom is not fun, but lots of things in life aren't fun and we do them. And I just think that, you know, there's a lot of folks who have invisible disabilities, as well as something that I think doesn't get covered often, which is that, like, you know, not everything gets the credit of, say, being a disability, but it's still a thing. Like, if you just have a really bad digestive system, you know, there's a lot of people who have things like IBS, IBD, Crohn's, you know, all those kind of things. And, you know, it's not fun. Like, these are people who often have to go out and they've got to know where all the bathrooms are on their route, you know, or people who have even bladder issues, which, you know, is like a decent size of the population, requires some kind of a public washroom, you know, as well as for changing babies, you know, or kids or pregnant people, you know, like, it's a basic need. And I think it should be more required. Because, like, I don't know, some days I just think we're getting to a point where we're making everything so hard that it's causing sort of like polarized views, right? So, like, with self-checkout, there are people who won't use them for political reasons. They believe it's taking away jobs, and it's taking away the human element of talking to a cashier. And obviously, you know, there's a lot of folks who are pretty lonely, and that's actually one of the only people that they may talk to in a day. And I don't think that that is something to be ashamed of or something to be made fun of. I really like the fact that when I go certain places, like, I was saying to my husband the other day, like, I make a particular point of talking to people when I'm out, because I don't get a lot of interaction during most days when I'm working. I'm indoors and I'm just working with people online. I'm not sitting beside anyone usually, because I don't go into the office very often. And it makes a huge difference to still talk to people. So, like, I was going out of a store the other day, and there was a guy coming in with a cart to return it, and he came in through the door that you're only allowed to exit from. So we were coming out, and he kind of got in our way, and I had to, like, shove over, you know, so that he could get through, even though, like, he was going through the wrong door. So I looked at him and I said, "Rebel, you're going in the wrong door." You know, you and I have a lot in common, because I do it all. I used to do that all the time. Like, I'm not kidding. Sorry, I had to change batteries. Anyways, so I used to do that all the time. Not on purpose, but just because I often would like get distracted and not realize I'd wandered through the wrong door. And, you know, he had a laugh and I had a laugh and we smiled at each other. And it was just nice, you know. And like moments before that, I'd gone through the checkout and the people in front of us, like they were, you know, busy talking to each other, whatever, but like the cashier looked so miserable. Like she looked like she was having like just a really grouchy kind of moment. So like when I got in line, she like, and I started putting my stuff on the belt, she said like nothing at all to me. And I was like, ugh, you know, this is a crappy experience. So then I just said to her, like, how's your day going? And she said, oh, I'm okay. She's like, I just started. I haven't woken up yet. And I said, oh, I totally understand. I'm like, I'm on one of those kids have things to do. I've got a million chores trying to get them done. You know, I totally get it. Right. So, you know, it's just that like connection, right? Like I'm trying to consciously do that more. Because I used to do it all the time. Like that's a facet of who I am, is like to talk to people. But like, I think over the years, you know, you don't even like to admit it, but I think the pandemic changed it, because for those of you who are like OG Studioloo people, you know I was a lot more, and I'm still a lot more COVID concerned than a lot of other people. I'm still very much like of the belief that, you know, it could do, you know, life-changing damage to many people. Not necessarily, I don't necessarily discount myself from that. I think if I were to get it and you know, I were to have a new strain of it or a bad case of it, I don't necessarily believe that, like, you know, the vaccines that I've gotten will fully always make it so that something catastrophic doesn't happen. Because I think that's a bit of confidence, right? A little too much confidence for my liking. But yeah, try to talk to people. It'll make you feel better. And more than likely, it'll have like a trickle down effect. Because, you know, we see videos and things like that, right? Where like somebody opens the door for another and says something nice, and then that person feels motivated. Like it's like a chain effect. And I do think that's true. I don't think that's hubbub, because I feel it. Like when someone's nice to me, like they smile at me, I feel like I want to smile at someone else. Like it's just, I think that's part of our connection. And it's funny, I've been watching the film Elemental on Disney Plus with my kids, because my son, he loves it. He's really into it right now. And toddlers go through this thing where they just want to watch the same thing a lot. This time I'm not really bothered. I think Elemental's a great movie. So we've been watching it, and there's this part of it where like the main character, being this girl named Ember, she's like a fire person, because, you know, all of the characters in the film are made from elements. And so the fire people have their own little shop where they sell sort of food and groceries for fire people. And you know, so it's a customer service kind of job. And so her dad is this old man, and he's trying to retire, but she definitely is struggling with being able to deal with customer service, because it's challenging, and, you know, I get it. And so she keeps having these big fiery blow-ups, and you know, she's talking to her dad about being stressed about these blow-ups that she keeps having, feeling like she's never going to figure out how to do this. And he tells her, like, regarding, you know, customers, he's like, you know, take a deep breath and try to make connection. And, you know, it's so true, right? It's like that whole, like, way of just realizing somebody's a human being, and that, you know, you've got more in common with them than you do things that make us different, right? I don't remember who said that or where it came from, but it's something that sticks in my head a lot. Okay, so I'm going to trim the white edges off of these printed papers, and then we'll give them a fold so that they'll be ready to go folios. This is a kit from, this page is from Miles Beyond the Moon, and I don't know who that one's from. Could be the same. I went through when I was printing out Halloween. I felt like I want to go through all my Halloween digitals, and I'm just going to print them all out, and we'll back them randomly. Like I didn't use a single like one shop's kit. I've gotten all different stuff here. So we're gonna have an eclectic mix of Halloween. And I think that's fun. Because like it's not a stressful thing to do, to not have to like plan out a specific theme, but just a fun Halloween kind of thing. And I think that's a nice way to appeal to everybody's idea of Halloween. I think the only thing I'm going to try to do is make more like adult spooky books too, with more like creepy scary than just like spooky free-for-all Halloween. So who is excited about the upcoming Beetlejuice film? I am. And I also love that it's bringing out lots of Beetlejuice kind of stuff, even though I'm trying not to be a consumer goblin. I'm like, Beetlejuice stuff. Because, you know, we haven't had that kind of fun Beetlejuice stuff since, like, what, the 90s? Back in the day when I was a young person in the 90s. How it's starting to feel, guys. It's starting to feel kind of ancient now. It's okay. We're all a fine wine, right? Okay. Oh, and this is a cute page. Oh, so cute. YouTube's been weird lately, though. I've noticed like a lot of people haven't been making videos because it's summer, and that's kind of normal. I think things change up in the summertime on YouTube. Like a lot of creators in the junk journal world aren't making as many videos because, like me, they're just busy doing stuff, and that's totally okay. And then there's just like some other stuff. I mean, a lot of it relating to AI, like images and music now too. Just bombarding obnoxiously like everywhere. It's kind of bugging me. Definitely on Etsy, I'm just feeling annoyed. And like, I'm also just kind of, I don't know. There's been a lot of stuff going on online that I choose not to talk about really on YouTube. On YouTube, just lots of people putting out like their opinions about things in the junk journal world and on YouTube that I think are like these strange kind of calls for attention, and it overall makes me feel weird. I think if your channel is changing, if your audience is changing, if your connection with your audience is changing, that it's a really good idea to do some self-analysis first before you try to like blame other things. You know, one of the hardest things about being on YouTube is knowing what level of like expression and honesty you can have without offending people and causing your subscriber count to plummet. So for me, the way that I look at that is this: I'm going to be me regardless of what happens. I'm going to make content for me. I'm not going to follow a schedule that, you know, anybody is asking me to do, like, you know, whether you're, you know, a customer, a Patreon, whatever. I'm not going to be able to do sort of like what I haven't committed to, like that I've told you I'm going to do. Like if I say I'm going to give you, you know, a video series about this, I'll do it. But I'm not going to be able to, you know, for people who say like, oh, I really liked this thing you did, you know, you need to do more of that. And then they keep bothering me about it. They keep talking to me about it. And especially if I'm not responding, that means that like my answer's no, but I don't really want to have to blatantly tell you like, no, I'm not doing that, because it's like a conflict, right? You know, so I try to look at it like, hopefully people know that to me, the audience here, you're a lot more to me than just like a subscriber number, because I'll tell you, at the level of YouTube that I'm at, and probably that a lot of us are at, like under 10,000 subscribers, definitely, you're not making a formidable income from doing this. Not just the videos. I mean, it may be that the videos they're a stream that goes into the other things you do, like Patreon, like your Etsy shop, you know. It's like an advertising kind of path. But like, to me, it's a lot more than just that. It's a lot more than even just a business. I sort of look at it like, I know how I feel, without sounding like I have unhealthy parasocial relationships, because I don't. But like, there's a lot of people that I watch on YouTube, and I've watched them for years, and I feel almost like I know them because they're in my home. Their voice is in my home. They're, you know, my kids have possibly seen them if they're appropriate. You know, like, I'm able to talk to other people about them, whatever. So it's like, there's a personal connection there, and I don't take that lightly. So, you know, there's a lot of times where I think, because I'll do these kind of videos where I'm talking about all sorts of things that sometimes can be political, although I don't fancy myself specifically a political person, but I do believe everybody should be somewhat political, because that's literally how the world is run. So you should want to engage with that. You know, I worry though, like, oh no, did I say the wrong thing? And, you know, that I'm going to lose subscribers over something I said. So, you know, it bothers me, but I don't let it bother me too much. And there's a reason. I think I'm hopeful that most people at some point, if maybe not right now, hopefully it comes back. Because I do think as a society that we used to have the capacity to let people say and express things, and we can disagree with them, but we don't need to cut them off completely. Obviously, there's exceptions. I think there's this saying that's like, you know, our politics can differ as long as yours doesn't impact someone's existence, right? Like people who just don't believe certain people should exist in the world. That's not acceptable at all. So I hope that's true for people who watch YouTube channels and personalities, that, you know, even if I said something that you didn't like, you don't necessarily have to come at me in the comments. I mean, if you feel like you want to engage with me in the comments, you can. I will be respectful so long as you are too. If you aren't, I will probably hide you from the channel because I don't have the capacity. Thankfully, I've never in the history of YouTube ever had that be a problem, but I do have sort of, you know, guidelines that I take from the experiences of much larger YouTubers whom I know have had to handle those things just because of their content. It's more, you know, maybe junk journaling and art is not as political as like people who cover things like commentary, news, politics, you know, social issues, those kind of things, right? And then I know how they have to manage these things for their own sanity, and that's how I'd plan to do it too. Just, you know, honest and heartfelt, but like, also just don't let people wreck you, because it's really not worth it. But yeah, I don't know. I've just been sort of feeling a little weird about, like, there's a really a thing I think you need to think if you're on YouTube about, and it's building your legacy, or building your be it your product, building your brand, building your image, all sorts of building, right? Things, how people think about you. So, you know, I think one thing I've heard a lot of, well, I've been in parts of many conversations throughout my creative history, is about this person copied me, or this person copied you. Did you see what they did? They stole your idea. They stole your work. They copied you. So it's a complicated thing, right? Not just from the standpoint of like copyright and the legalities and the complications of that, but it's also about, I would say, common human decency. So while a lot of people like to say no idea is unique, or, you know, being copied is the most sincere form of flattery, I don't agree with either of those things. Not one bit. People consciously know when they're copying your ideas. And yes, some things are generic, like a theme. Like, I'm not going to tell you that I'm going to make, you know, a grungy Halloween book and that I invented it. But also neither did Tim Holtz, and hopefully people can learn that too, because that's another thing that bugs me. I love Tim Holtz, but I really get annoyed when people say that grunge or, you know, antique or weird are like his thing, like they're his invention, his signature. I once had somebody make a comment on one of my books. It was literally on the design of the book. The book was like 150 years old, and they said, I hope you realize this is how I imagine they spoke, like a angry valley girl in the 90s. I hope you realize that that's just a Tim Holtz, you know, style. And I was like, what are you even talking about? Like, it took me a minute to even understand where this person was coming from, like what part of the book I'd made they were talking about. And they were talking about the cover, because the inside wasn't even that. Like, I'm not going to tell you what book it is, because then somebody will find the video and they'll find the comment and they'll be like, you're the person. I left it there. I did respond to them to say, like, while I recognize that Tim Holtz has, you know, monetized antique things by having them scanned and printed and turned into motifs, he did not invent them. And even he knows that. He talks in all of his videos, you know, all his lives about the process of building his collection, like, you know, collecting ephemera. I don't think this is his delusion at all. So let me make that clear. I'm not criticizing him. But yeah, it's very weird when people's interactions are so off base. Like, I have a real problem, I notice. You know, I watch a lot of different channels, a lot of different people, and sometimes I see comments that are just so critical of people's style, of their voice, of their personality traits, of the things they like. People call them things like weird or odd or, you know, off base, or, you know, they criticize them for things that are just literally a part of their style. Like, if you don't like watching videos that are dubbed, like voiceovers, if you don't like watching videos where somebody has, you know, maybe a speech issue or a speech difference, or if you don't like the way someone physically looks, if you don't like their hands, you know, because I've had people come at me about not having manicured nails, and I'm like, oh honey, that stopped when I became a potter. I've got better things in life to do than have pretty hands. My husband's quite happy with my existing hands, and he's the only one that I tend to care about when it comes to my physical appearance. I think I could probably like only wear garbage bags as clothing and tie my hair in thousands of knots and he would still love me, so I don't have to worry about that. So if you don't like something, there's a million other channels. You don't need to tell them, because like that kind of stuff, it's hurtful and it's like annoying. And you know, if you like in general the theme of content that they make, even if you don't like their stuff, like you can impact the entire community by doing stuff like that. When one person stops creating something, it makes that something, that community, get a little smaller because that one person's gone, right? So yeah, I don't know, save your aggression and like off-base comments for therapy. Therapy is probably the best place for it. Because, yeah, it's not helping you or anyone else. But as always, like I said, you know, it's like if I ever say anything that bothers you, I genuinely am sorry that, you know, that happened. But probably it's based in how I feel. And also, I used to have this blog that was called something like, I don't have it anymore, I closed it down years ago. It was called like Mind Never Made Up, which means that my mind's not made up on this topic. And so generally speaking, that's how I feel about everything in my life. My mind is not made up. I have not said my final word on anything really. And I'm probably at some point going to change how I feel about something, because I can tell you in the last 10 years, but then again in the last 5, and probably again in the last 2, I have changed so much. I have learned so much from other people. You know, I am lucky enough to have a lot of very diverse friends, and also a very diverse online community, although I wouldn't really seat that in the same level of reality as I do my real friends that I see in real life. But like, I get a lot of perspectives. I do a ton of reading, you know, so just remember that people change, and if you can speak to them about things without centering yourself first and making it really like overly dramatic and emotional and hurtful, you can probably have a pretty healthy conversation about it. And yeah, that being said, I hope that for those feeling disgruntled right now in the junk journal community, or those feeling confused by certain things that have been going on, I hope that you feel like everything's going to be okay, because it is. I think that if a lot of people could just take a second look at how they act, what they do, that a lot of their problems will more than likely resolve. Yeah. So I am going to fold all these in half and chop them down. I've got to decide how many signatures I want to put in that book, and what do I want to do with that book. I might also take a look and see what I've got in papers that have, like this image. Hold on, let me get it again. It's more like Victorian Halloween feeling, right? I might try to decide what I want to use that has that same feeling. Like, I like this kind of purpley wallpaper for this. This would be good. And just start putting themes together. Like, obviously we've got owls, we've got jack-o'-lanterns, we've got a woman. And yeah, I will get started on that. But if you're interested in the read-throughs of the books, in October, I recommend heading to my Patreon, because I think I'm going to commit to doing that and posting those in October. So if you're interested in those books that I showed you, I'm going to do read-through videos for little October treats for my Patreon. That being said, I hope you have a wonderful day, and thank you for joining me here. Take care, everyone. Bye for now.